You move the chairs closer.
Good evening and welcome. My name is Vanessa Patnode and I teach in the PTA program, Physical Therapist Assistant Program, here at the university, and I'm also a member of the university's Distinguished Lecturer Series Committee. It's a long word. This committee was established in 1999 and it sponsors several speakers a year from either in the state of Maine or across the country. These speakers represent different disciplines, different viewpoints, but everybody has a major contribution in their field. Several years ago, the committee started inviting students or alumni speakers to participate in this forum. So tonight, I'm very excited to have one of our own PTA alums speak to you tonight. Mitch Wheeler is from our PTA class of 2017, but he started his career in the military. Next, he went into law enforcement for 17 years. After that, he was able to go back to school here at the university and become a physical therapist assistant. And he works locally in the community, and I hear he's awesome. Right? One of his fellow co-workers back there. Tonight he will share his unique path and story. He was a pleasure to have in class. He's a pleasure to have here tonight. So please join me in welcoming our distinguished student alum lecturer, Mitch Wheeler.
It's a good thing there was a game night, because the place would be packed probably, but hey, I won't fill it up too much. Thank you for the introduction, Vanessa, I appreciate it, and thank you for all that came. I do appreciate you showing up. I didn't really prepare a speech because I kind of lived it, so I really didn't have to. I put a few notes down just so I can keep myself more gentle, and I should probably do that, so I did. It was a long road, and it was a fun road, and there were some hard times and some good times and some sad times. But I started out, so I'm going to start right from the beginning, and I'm probably going to bore some of you. So if you fall asleep, that's fine. Just know I'm probably going to take some selfies with you and put them on Facebook. So feel free to fall asleep. Anyway, in high school, and this is going to come back a little further down the road, but in high school, I really didn't pay attention a whole lot. I didn't open too many books, didn't care about it. I knew what I was going to do. I knew I was going to join the military. I knew I was going to be a cop. I was like, I didn't need math, I didn't need English, didn't need any of that stuff. I didn't care. I kind of had a bad temper. I just did my own thing, partied a lot, didn't really care. So that stuff wasn't important to me back then, because I really didn't think I was going to use that stuff. So when it come time, so just remember that part. So when I graduated, I went directly into the military. I knew what I was going to do. My brother joined the Air Force. My dad was in the military. Grandfather was in the military. So I joined the Air Force and got a guaranteed job in security forces. Talked to my recruiter. He said, "Oh, you're going to love it. This is what you need to do." All that. So I left Bridgewater, Maine, because I couldn't wait to get out of there. Couldn't wait to leave the county. Got off the plane in San Antonio. First thing that hit me was the heat. I was like, holy cow, what is this stuff? I couldn't even hardly breathe. Got on the bus, people started yelling at me. I'm like, what did I do? Because I wasn't used to that. Then I got off the bus in San Antonio, Lackland Air Force Base, and I'm really confused and didn't know what was going on. And I got a guy yelling at me, pick up my bag, put my down bag, pick it up, put it down, pick it up. I'm like, these guys are more confused than I am. So anyway, I was scared to death at this point. I got big guys yelling and screaming at me. One guy, Sergeant Berrigan, Berrigan, big red-headed Scottish dude, never forget him. Probably one of the only guys I'll never forget. Screaming, yelling, and just, I was scared to death. I wanted to go home so bad at that point. I found out right at that point that I was just a little fish in a big sea. And I was just like, I'm not going to make it. I want my mom, I want my dad, I want to go home. So I wasn't the big badass that I thought I was, basically. So they gave me a phone call and said, you can call home, let your parents know you made it home okay. So I called, I believe it was Mom answered the phone. She started talking, I almost started crying, I couldn't even talk. I was like, Mom, don't even talk, I'm okay, because if she stopped talking, I'd probably break down and cry, and I didn't want to cry in front of all these dudes because they'd probably kick my butt. So anyway, I started my career in the military, and I made it okay. I went through until the day I graduated. The day I graduated, I had a heat stroke and got put in the hospital. Of course, I made it through until I graduated, went in there, and so I had that heat stroke on the last day I graduated, and this has a meaning to it, believe it or not. But so after I got out of the hospital, I went to my tech school, which, my luck, I stayed in San Antonio, Texas, where it's hotter than heck. It's like 90 to 100 degrees, and they have what's called a red flag and black flag. And if it's a black flag, you can't do anything, you can't march. If it's red flag, I think you can walk. But, so I went to my tech school, and I'm there for a week, and I get a call, I gotta go see my first sergeant. So I go down there, like, you're AWOL. I'm like, what do you mean I'm AWOL? Like, yeah, you're AWOL. I'm like, I can't be AWOL, I'm standing right in front of you. But you're supposed to be over here. I'm like, holy lightning, I'm going to jail. So they got that all straightened out, and I went on with my training, and we get to a point in the tech school where you get your assignments. So I got an assignment, I'm going to Griffiths Air Force Base. I'm like, where's Griffiths? So New York. I'm like, that's not that bad. And then they come in and they go, you got a different assignment. You're going to Germany. I'm like, what? And then I got a different assignment. I'm going to England. I'm like, I had 4 different assignments. I didn't know what was going on. I'm like, they're still more confused than I am. So I went down and I said, I had it. I'm done. I want to go home. You guys don't know what you're doing. And I called Mom and Dad, and I was so upset that they didn't know where I was going. And Dad talked me off the cliff and got me back on track. And finally I went to Griffiths Air Force Base. Went up to Griffiths and got there. And my first assignment, now the recruiter, the one that talked up my job, that you're going to love it. I told him I want to be law enforcement. He goes, no, you want to do security because security's best. I get there, my first assignment, I was sitting under a pine tree in the middle of nowhere with an M16 rifle, freezing my butt off. I was like, what is this? My next one, I was walking wingtip to wingtip on B-52, freezing again, going, I'm not a police officer, I'm a security guard. Literally, they called me a rivet counter, and I was 16 hours walking wingtip to wingtip on a B-52 bomber, nuclear bomber. I wanted to literally get in the car and drive back to Northern Maine and find that recruiter and say, what did you do to me? But I stuck it out and ended up meeting some really good supervisors that took me under their wing and said, this is what we need to do. You need to do your job. Because a lot of people, believe it or not, in the military, just do enough to get by, okay? And I got a really good supervisor, Mark Hawes, that said you need to do your job, you need to do it to the best of your ability, and you need to look sharp when you do it. So I learned how to iron when I was in the military, because you need to know how to iron, because believe it or not, I had to iron my underwear. Yes, you have to iron your underwear and your socks. It has to look like bologna. You don't like ironing your underwear with starch, it's not comfortable in your shirts and all that. But so I ironed my uniforms to where they would stand up by themselves, literally. Starch, I could take my pants and stand up by themselves. My shirts stand up by themselves, but they look sharp. So I did my job, I studied, I did all that, and there's a thing called airman below the zone, senior airman below the zone. I got senior airman below the zone, so I got promoted early. So I got airman of the quarter, stuff like that. And then I got promoted to elite gate guard. So what I'm trying to tell you is hard work, you get rewarded for hard work. Okay, you don't get rewarded for being just substandard or standard or average. Okay, you can go out there and just do average. You can just go out there and just do what you have to do. Or you can go out there and do your job and try to go above and beyond, and you will be noticed by your supervisors, hopefully. And if not, So anyway, I come to a point when I was at Griffiths where I put in for a job for, it was basically a bodyguard for the Joint Chiefs of Staff. Okay, and it's basically 4-star generals. And there's 2 Air Force, 2 Marines, 2 Army, and 2 Navy. That's military-wide. So there was 2 Air Force personnel picked, Air Force-wide. So you had to put a package together. There was a picture, and then you had to put why you wanted to do it, and you had to put your profile, and your evaluations, and all that. So I said, I'm going to try it, and because Griffiths was going to close, and I put it in there just to try it. I didn't think I had a chance to get it. Well, I got a call, come in, oh, I got picked for that job. I was like, holy cow, I'm going to be a bodyguard for 4-star general. I was like, woohoo! So, but before that, I got picked for a place, Verona, in Verona, New York, for a highly classified job out there. It was a 4-year controlled tour. But that was closing too, because the support base was closing. And that was a 4-year controlled tour. And apparently it was pretty high up on the scale, because a 4-star general couldn't even take me out of that spot, because they called me up and said, guess what, we got bad news for you. I'm like, what's that? You can't have that job with a 4-star general because you're slotted with Verona. And I'm like, Verona's closing. And they're like, I'm like, well, it's a Joint Chiefs of Staff, that's a 4-star general. You can't pull some weight, like, not with that one, you can't. So I'm like, I'm bummed, because the assignment team just came. I was one of the highest ranking senior airmen there, and I would have been able to pick pretty much anywhere in the United States or overseas I wanted to go. But they had already been and gone, so my pick was Minot in the Dakotas on a missile base. And that's not fun, folks. It's cold and windy. I didn't want to go there. I'd rather been somewhere warm, like MacDill Air Force Base, where I was going to go. So I was pretty bummed. Well, because I went above and beyond in my job, I had a master sergeant, Sergeant Hedrick, come up to me and said, hey, I'd like to talk to you. I said, okay. He goes, I'd like to go to New Mexico. I said, no, I really wouldn't want to go to New Mexico. I mean, I know nothing about New Mexico, except it's probably hot and desert, and there's spiders and snakes and stuff. And I don't like spiders. So he's like, well, I'd like to talk to you about it. He goes, I got a spot out there that's, I'd like to have you go out there. I'm like, well, what is it? He's like, oh, I can't tell you. I'm like, that's not, you're not convincing me to go out there very much. He's like, all I can tell you is it's a lot of fun. It's very exciting. He goes, and you'll be doing something great for your country. I was like, So I talked to one of my good buddies out there. That's from El Paso, Texas. I was like, so tell me about New Mexico. He's like, oh, it's kind of like New York. I'm like, you're lying to me. I'm throwing the BS card on. He's like, no, there's pine trees in New Mexico. I'm like, there's pine trees in New Mexico. He's like, yeah, there are pine trees in New Mexico. I'm like, I don't believe you. He goes, no, there's pine trees in New Mexico. I go, but it's hot. He goes, yeah, but it's a dry heat. Look, it's a dry heat. Yeah, I'm like, all right. So I thought about it, and I talked to the sergeant, and I said, all right, I'll do it. Because I waited. Dry heat, really, really cold. So I took the job. And he goes, you're going to be a little moving for a while, because you got to do a background check with the FBI. You got to go through a psychiatric check. That's probably still not right. It's like some of the words in PTA class. Anyway, so I passed all that, and I got in there, and I was pretty excited. I was gone a lot. Got to do a lot of cool things. I can never tell anybody, but hey, it is what it is. But while I was there, I did the best I could. I strived at my job. I went above and beyond. I got Airman of the Year in the slot. I got rewarded. I got an award, or a medal for heroism. I'll tell you about that in a minute. And I got promoted to staff sergeant early, because when I studied hard to get promoted. And I took a martial arts called Shotokan when I was out there. When I was home, I could take it. And when I also wanted to be a cop, a real cop, in the civilian world. And I always wanted to help people. So I was out there. everything in the military. Self-defense was a pretty big thing, and I was teaching intel people to protect themselves and fortify their positions, and when they were deployed. I was at the class, I just left my showed up on class, you're putting a gi. A gi is like the karate outfit. It was a little white one, and I was wearing a little belt and all that stuff, and I went home, and I got out of my truck, and I was feeling like Bruce Lee. And I get up there, and I was walking the door, and he goes, help, oh, help. I'm like, what was that noise? I was like, help, get off me, get off me. And I'm like, so I told my wife at the time, I was like, you need to call 911. I said, I'm hearing somebody screaming help. So I took off across through the desert, but I don't even think it just went through my head. So I'm running through the desert. I'm like, oh, please don't run into a cactus. So I'm running through there in my gi, because I still didn't take it off, in my belt, and I come across, and I come on a crossroad, and this dude has this girl down on the road has a knife to her throat. So I subdued this guy. I'm not going to tell you what I did, but I subdued him with some karate moves. And I got him down, and I'm just thinking, this guy must have freaking, I don't know what he thought. Sorry, Mama, he was freaking. She hates that word. So I got him subdued down on the ground, and I was thinking, like, this guy, what did he see when I was running through that desert, coming through there in that white gi? So I have him down there. I'm like, man, I really hope my wife called 911 because we're going to be here for a long time. And he's like, oh, I'm in the military. I'm like, not much longer you're not in the military, bud. What the heck are you thinking? So anyway, the cops came, and I thought they were going to take me to jail because they put the guns on me and everything. So, but anyway, he went to jail. He got kicked out of the military. But at that point, I was wondering, did I have the guts to do the job as a police officer? And at that moment, I knew I had the guts. So before that, didn't know if I did or not. But after that, I knew I had the guts to do that, because you never know. I mean, you can always say, I throw my life on the line for anybody, or I throw my life on the line for my wife, or my kids, or my mom, or whoever. But you never know if you really do until that moment comes to do it. So that moment in time, I didn't even think about it. I didn't even think that that guy could turn that knife on me, or I could have got stabbed, or he could have had a gun, or anything. My biggest worry was I didn't want to get stabbed by a cactus running through the desert. Because I was hurt and stabbed when I was hunting up there. But, so that made me feel pretty good about myself. Not the whole other thing about, the whole knife to the girl thing. I didn't really care about that. I was more happy that I had that in me to do that kind of thing. Because I was worried that I didn't. Believe it or not, I was really scared that I didn't have that in me to step up to the plate when I needed to. Because to be a police officer, you really, really need to be able to do that. So I did anyway. So come to a time we changed commanders a lot, and you change supervisors a lot in the military. And managers, all managers and supervisors have a different way of supervising. Some are great, some are awesome, some are not so great. So we had a new command. One of my commanders, Commander Bowser, he was fantastic. And we were getting a new one coming in, and we met him, and I just had a bad vibe about this guy. And I told him, I said, yeah, I think I'm gonna bounce on this one and go home and pursue my career in law enforcement. So he's like, well, Mitch, you're really good. I'd like to keep you in the military. Where would you go if you had anywhere you wanted to go? Where would you go? I said, Alaska. So he come back to me, and it was like a couple days later. He goes, I got your place in Alaska if you want to go. And I was like, oh, really like to go to Alaska. But I was like, sir, I'd love to go, but I'm going home. I want to go home. I miss Aroostook County, and I miss my mom and my dad, and I really want to go home. So I get all packed up and drive to Maine in a U-Haul from New Mexico, and holy, like, that's a long ride. And get all the way up here, and then I get a call from my commander. It says, hey, we got a cop, and it was during Kosovo time. Got a cop, his daughter's really sick. Would you mind? We need support over there. He's got to leave, and would you go over there? I'm like, oh yeah, I'll go over there. So I went back, and then they shipped me over to England. And so I went over there for a while, and I had a really good time, and got to do a lot of cool things. And that cop that was over there, he got to go back and spend time with his daughter. And while I was over there, I got on the sat phone and called my wife at the time. And I was like, so how's things going? She goes, I got a job. I'm like, all right, yeah. I said, yeah, I moved into a place. So I'm thinking this whole time, I'm moving to the county. I'm like, really, where'd you go? Were we anywhere near Bridgewater? Yeah, we're in Lewiston. I'm like, where in the heck is Lewiston? I'm like, anywhere near, like, Presque Isle? And she's like, no, that's down by Portland. I was madder than a wet hen. I was not happy. Of course, I'm in England. What am I going to do? So, like, I was beside myself because I want to be in the county, and because this is me. The county's me. So, anyway, I get back from overseas, and get back up here, and I'm going to start my career in law enforcement. And I don't know about anybody, but I'm a religious man. I'm not super religious, and I mean, if you are, you are. If you aren't, you're out. It's your business. I believe in your freedom and your rights and all that stuff, and who you pray to, that's your business. But everything happens for a reason, and I think he has a power to it, or whoever, divine intervention, or I don't believe in coincidence, I guess, but everything happens for a reason. And sometimes you don't know what that reason is, I guess. And whew, me and him have had some battles and fights, and I've lost them all, I think. But, when I got up here, I got into law enforcement. I got hired right off that. I went over to Cumberland Nugget. That has a place in the story. I put in for Cumberland PD, and it's that town of Cumberland, not Cumberland County. And I went in there, and I was like, I don't stand a chance to get hired in here because there's blue pins put in there. What a blue pin is it's a full-time officer that's gone through the academy. Okay, I haven't had the academy. I didn't even have the 100-hour course. All I had was military experience. Okay, so I went in there, and they gave me an interview. I'm like, okay, I have an interview. So I actually did the alert test. That's where you go down there and take a test, and they give you a score that says that you can be hired onto a police force, basically. So they put me through an interview, and I went in there, and they asked me a bunch of questions, and I just spoke from my heart, basically, and I gave them basically the patriotic spiel that, I told them I want to be a police officer, and I told them the truth. I told them, I want to help people, but I also want to drive fast and listen to a siren and all that good stuff. I want to carry a gun. I want to, that's what I want to do. But I do want to help people, and I want to make a difference. So they hired me. I couldn't believe it. I was so excited. I was like, oh, I'm going to be a cop. I'm going to be a real, genuine law enforcement police officer. I got right on the phone. Dad, I'm going to be a cop. My father was a cop for how many years? 30 plus years. And I'm like, that's big. Told myself I wasn't going to do this. Dad's going to be proud of me. So, crap. Anyway, and he was. I mean, Mom told me, he told a lot of people that I was a police officer and all that stuff. So, well, now the fun began. I had to go to the 100-hour course. Now it's a 200-hour course, I guess. But so they sent me to the 100-hour course so I could be a police officer, a real one. And I went to the 100-hour course, and the first night I got off there, like, hey, you want to be on the road tonight? I'm like, yeah, I want to be on the road tonight. And they put me out there by myself. I was like, holy. First thing I had to do was learn how to run a radar, the real radar gun, and the first car I pulled over almost got in an accident. The car went by, I was so excited to turn around, I whipped the car around and almost hit the car going the opposite direction. I was like, all right, Mitch, calm down, relax, take a breather, look the opposite direction, make sure you don't hit the car. So, I was never so excited to say, license registration for insurance. Then I had to real credit because I wasn't looking at here anyway. anyway, it took me a while to get used to it. And they sent me to the academy, and I graduated, taught in my class. And I loved it, loved my job. And, fortunately, actually, I got divorced and moved up here and went to Presque Isle. Actually, sorry, I missed a big part in there, huge part. I went to Yarmouth Police Department, and I wasn't there, I think, a month after 9/11 hit, which is awful. Went to Yarmouth, and I was in the reserves. I got out of the military, but I stayed in active reserves IMA program. I don't think I was there a month, and I was home doing a phone call, and they're like, "You need to be at Anscombe Air Force Base at such and such time. Blah blah blah. If you're not there, you'll be considered AWOL. You are now active duty Air Force." I was like, "Yes, sir. I'm back in the Air Force." Say what? Yeah. So everybody come down to the house and had to do a couple things at the house I was at, and I really thought I was going to head over, but I went down there, and of course everything in the military is hurry up and wait. And I sat on a gate with a M16 rifle with 12 other people for 16 hours at a time, 7 days a week, waiting to see what was going to happen. And lo and behold, about 4 or 5 months later, I got spinal meningitis. And I was some sick. And I don't remember a lot of it. And Mom and Dad got me through that mess, a lot of it. And I still have residual effects from it. I get bad migraines and memory issues. And sometimes I get really nervous, the words don't come out right. And learn about that in PTA, where that part is in the head and the brain. But anyway, so the Air Force didn't want me anymore after that. They said, "You're only discharged of that." So I came and went back to Yarmouth and got divorced, and I said, "You know what, Chief, after my divorce," I said, I don't belong down here. I belong in Aroostook County. I said, "That's my home. That's where my family is. That's where my friends are. I want to go home." So I come up to Presque Isle. I hope I'm not boring you, but this is the story. This is my story. So I come up home, got hired on the Presque Isle PD, and got hired on with the same guy that I avoided like the plague up here when I was a kid, John T. York. And he was a trooper. He's a legendary lawman up here. I mean, I avoided that guy. He tried to get me so many times partying when I was a kid. It was insane. I mean, he passed Mom every day in her car, and just way better. I get in that car, and she had no front plate. He'd pull me over every time. I'm like, "John, you pass Mom every day, but you see me, and you pull me over." He goes, "Yeah, I want to catch you." But he never did. So, but anyway, I worked with him. It was pretty awesome. I got to work with John York. So anyway, but my dream was to work with the Sheriff's Department. And it just so I talked to my deputies, like, "Hey, we're going to have an opening. I'm getting a sergeant slot. We'd love to have you come aboard." So I applied, went down there, and I got hired under the Sheriff's Department. And I'm not even following my notes. I don't even know where I wrote them. So I went on to the Sheriff's Department, and I got to learn a lot of cool things. I went to evidence collection. I learned how to do that. Went to SWAT school, which I did that in the military too. So it was just basically a refresher for me. And did suicide bombing, stuff like that, which had that some in the military. So I got to get trained on a lot, but one of my biggest things I loved was K9. And I had a K9 Max, who I got, and that was a huge, it was hard, but it was so rewarding. And he was a big part of my life, and worked really hard with him. The whole family loved him, and he was such a good dog, hard-working dog, and he was just a keen dog. I mean, he could find drugs like nobody's business. And he saved a kid's life up in Limestone. I say he did. He was suicidal when he found that kid. Of course, he treated him, but still, he found him. But I found him. He was like, "Ah!" And so I went to the kid way up in the tree. I'm like, "Come on down. I'm not going down that dog's going to bite me." But he was a good dog. So I think he saved a kid's life. We found all kinds of drugs, found guys that took off on the police, and he was just a good all-around dog. But then he got cancer and he passed away. But before that, we had a change in administration. Remember I told you that different administrators had a different way of doing things. And I told myself when I got in the military, being happy is the most important thing in life, folks. You got to be happy. Okay, and then I hold no bones on how administrators do things. That's their business. But I just wasn't happy anymore. I was stressed out. I was miserable. I got to marry a beautiful wife and had 2 great kids that come along with it. And I was making them miserable along with it. And in 2007, I lost my dad. And one of the big things he told me, one of his biggest regrets was that he never got to spend a lot of time with his family, with his kids. And he said that if he could do things over, he would spend more time with his family. And I found myself going down that same road. And I told myself, do I really want to do this? Do I really want to go down this same road? And I found myself being stressed. I found myself taking it out on my wife. I found myself taking it out on my kids and my friends. And then they took my dog, and they took my dog program away because of budget and all that. So I lost pretty much everything I liked in my job. I wasn't happy anymore. So my wife, who was my biggest supporter, sat down and she goes, let's figure this out. And I'm like, figure what out? I don't know, I gotta have a job. I said, all I know is being a cop. That's all I've ever known is being a cop. I know nothing else. So I had gotten hurt. I'm gonna rewind this a little bit. I got hurt. My wife owns a gymnastics business and a cheering business. She has 3 gyms. Well, she had one in Mars Hill, and I was in there goofing around with her, and she's like, she had a thing, it's like, I don't know what it's called, but you bounce over into a front handspring or something. I'm like, I can do that. I don't know how old I was. It was like 10 years ago or more. So I got to run the start. I jumped and I flipped and I landed on my heels and holy lightning, I went right up my back and I couldn't even, I was like, oh! I'm like, I need to sit down. So I went over and sat down. I put 3 discs on my back. I said, I guess I'm not young anymore. So I had to go to rehab, and I met a young lady in there called Michelle Slyke, and we hit it right off. And she's like, you'd be really good at this. I'm like, oh, hey, we've kind of burned on this anyway. But I said, how do you do that? She goes, you have to go down to Bangor. I'm like, I'm out. I said, I'm not leaving my family. I said, it's not going to happen. So it kind of just went to the wayside. So anyway, now back to the beginning. So my wife Allie, was going through Lumpy. She's like, well, would you do this? I'm like, no. Would you do this? No. Would you do this? No. How about this? No way. She goes, how about PTA? I said, I'd love to do PTA, but that's not up here. She goes, I'm reading it right out of the Lumpy thing, Mitch. Jeepers, wake up. I'm like, okay, sorry. So I was like, well, yeah, I wouldn't mind doing that. So Allie and I started doing it. So this whole thing happens for a reason, thing that I was talking about earlier. This, where the new new management come in there and all that, and I was miserable, kind of pushed me towards this whole thing. And it's almost like it was meant to be. This PTA thing was all of a sudden it's at Umpy. So I called Umpy, and we went over to the Career Center and went through the VA and all that. And the guy's like, oh, well, heck, you can just do this. You got post 9/11, and there was this VA re-education thing or something, and he sent us to another guy and talked. Everything just flowed like it was water. It just went so smooth. I was just like, Allie, this is going too smooth. This isn't right. Something's going to go wrong. Something's going to, because I'm not an optimist at all. Not even a little bit. I should listen to my wife because she's always right. Seems like I'm always right. So anyway, I contacted Umpy after we got the VA part all set up, well, not yet, but, so they said, yeah, come on up and talk to us. So I come up with Allie. I think you were with me. And we pull in, she goes, hey, your name's on the plaque. And I'm like, what? I turn around, I have my own parking spot already. I'm like, man, that's how much, they must know me. I have my own parking spot. So I pulled in there and I come in there. They treated me like I was something special. So I couldn't believe it. I was like, this is great. I was like, they don't know me from Adam and they're treating me awesome. I didn't have to do that. They walked me up to see Chris, who's the director up to the PTA program. And that's where it kind of went a little bit. Because he kind of like burst my bubble a little bit. And this is how, nothing against it, but he's like, he put reality in it a little bit. And there's nothing wrong with that. I think it's perfect. So when I went, they escorted me up there to see Chris. And Chris he laid it out there, just like I like it. Because I'm the type of person, if I think it kind of comes out my mouth, or sometimes it probably shouldn't, but I say it how it is. And I didn't do that once, and that's what made me sick to my stomach, because I tried to be something I wasn't. And never ever do that, folks. Be yourself. Because don't ever try to impress somebody to satisfy them. Always be yourself. So I sat down with Chris, and Allie was with me, and I can't remember which child, and I can't remember if it was Jack or Chloe. I want to see it was Jack, but I'm not sure. And Chris laid it out to me, bam. He's like, this is not an easy course, Mitch. He says, this is a hard course. He goes, it's going to be a hard thing for you to do. And I'm like, well, I'm telling you, Chris, once I put my mind to it, I'm going to do it. And I could tell he was like, yeah, I've heard that before. Because I'm a pretty good read of people. And I could tell the way he was looking at me. He was just like, you don't know what you're getting yourself into. And I was like, I've heard that before. So I was just like that. I was like, man, he doesn't seem too impressed with me. It's like he doesn't think I can do it. And so I got kind of discouraged with that. And I was just like, man, maybe I can't do this. And I'm like, heck with that, I'm not going to tell me what I can't do. So I was just like, I'm going to do this. I got this. So we continued with the BA process. And like I said, it went right back to everything was running smooth. Umbi helped me out with everything. I mean, Umbi was awesome. And the VA was awesome. Like I had an advisor down there, an advisor up here. I didn't have to do anything really. So I started school. I had to do a couple classes because I'd been out of school for like ever. I'm not going to tell you how long. But so I had to take some classes to prove that I could do it, I guess. So I had to take a math and English and stuff like that. So I started. Remember when I told you I was in high school and I didn't think any of that stuff was important? Holy, I was one stressed out dude. I was just like, it was like panic. Algebra, I was like, well, I forgot what it even meant. A and P, I literally, I had heart palpitations. You got to put me on medicine. Scott Dobrin, I love that dude to death. He is like the man. Because I was like, after the first class, because they do things totally different. He's like, he does something, he goes, the lecture is on a video on Blackboard. I'm like, I'm looking around, where's the Blackboard? And I couldn't find it. And I'm like, I walked up to him after class, I'm like, where's the Blackboard? And he's like, he kind of looked at me kind of strange, like, I mean, it's on the computer thing, you gotta go in there and look it up. I'm like, I have no idea how to do that. And I felt like an idiot, and I was just like, I'm gonna quit, because I can't do this, I gotta go back and make off, because that's so much easier. And then I was just like, he was up there talking, and he might as well, he was like the Charlie Brown teacher. And I just like, I was just like, oh my God. And so after that, I was just like, I might even call you and said, I can't do this. And I went to English and I met Anthony Scott, and that wasn't too bad until he graded my papers, and then I was really bad. Because I forgot all the pronouns and adjectives and all that stuff, and spelling. I was like, spelling, I don't know what that is. But, so anyway, I met with Scott, I think every day. I was like, Scott, can I meet with you? He said, yeah, come on up to my office. Of course, he was on like the third floor, and I was like, oh, in there. I was like the fat guy going up the stairs. And so I lost some weight anyway. But he worked with me, and I'm like, Scott, like you're putting your video. All right, this should be what's the word I'm looking for? Refresher. This should be a refresher. And I'm like, I don't know what you mean by this should be a refresher. Well, you should have learned this in high school. I'm like, dude, that was 24 years ago. I mean, how could that be a refresher for me? He's like, all right. I'll work with you on this. He goes, so, and then he put the book on the computer on PDF. And I'm like, I'm not smart with this stuff, so I had to go through back in the computer. And I said, remember I told you I had spinal meningitis, had a memory problem? Reading is a problem for me. So I start reading, and it's like I'm reading, and when I'm reading down through here, this part's going through a shredder. So I don't remember anything I just read. So if it's on a video, I can remember it better because I'm watching the person talk, so I can remember it. But if I'm reading it, literally, it's like I'm going down through, and this part's going through a shredder. It's like, it's going about another space. So I have to read it like 18 times to remember it. So Scott was awesome with me. He helped me out tremendously. So I got through that, and then I had to go to this class called kinesiology. I was like, what? Let me tell you something. Siri don't even know what kinesiology is. Because I just got on and I said, kinesiology, spell kinesiology. It said Can-E-Z-L-G. Couldn't even spell it, so I don't feel so bad now. So anyway, another awesome, Aaron Marston, fantastic. Went in there, I was in panic mode because everybody told me horror stories about kinesiology. And when I went in there, at first it was pretty hard, but after you get it, obviously it's an instructor thing because he teaches it so well, and he's there for you. And if you as a student put in the time other than just sitting in class and then going and think you're going to learn it just in class and pass, let me give you some advice. That ain't going to happen. Not pass it with more than a B or a C. If you want A's, you need to put in extra time to go see your instructors and put in extra time, and you'll get your A's. Because that's what they're there for. And these instructors at UMPI are willing to do that if you're willing to put in the time. If you're not willing to put in the time, don't expect to get these A's unless you're a genius. And if you are, that's fantastic. I'm jealous as heck. But I put in my time with Aaron and Scott and Anthony and Patrick Baker. I took extra classes to get a full schedule, taping and some other classes. And he was fantastic. Everybody willing to help me. And I just had to be willing to give my time. And then, of course, you have to do an interview to get into the PTA course. And then, so you're not even guaranteed to get into the PTA course. So then I was like, hey, I got through kinesiology, I'm good. And so that was easy, and I talked to people. Oh, you get through the kinesiology part, you're good to go. And the rest of it's easy. I've got news for you folks. That was the easy part. So then I went to the interview, and you're not guaranteed. I had a 4.0 at that part, but and they said you're still not guaranteed a slot in PTA. And I remember talking to Chris, and I'm like, man, he didn't seem to like me very much. So I don't know if I can get a slot in there. And I met Vanessa once, and so I go in there, and they're talking to me, and I laid it out, and they're like, what do you do? Well, I got a farm, and I'm helping my brother with carpentry, and I'm doing a little bit of part-time law enforcement still, and well, I get a lot on your plate. There's just a lot of hard work in here. And I'm like, holy cow. So I didn't know if I was getting in there. Then they told me to get in there. Well, PTA, hands down, okay, I've been through basic training in the military, police academy, and 3 black belt tests. PTA program mentally is the hardest thing I've ever been through in my life, but the most rewarding, because I have learned so much from Vanessa and Chris, and I feel so much smarter. I mean, I know so much about my body now. And I feel like I accomplished something fantastic. I got a college degree. Okay, I graduated with a 4.0. Graduated top of my class with a bunch of little snot-nosed kids. They called me grandpa. Chris told us in class, he goes, you're going to study 40 to 50 hours a week. I think that's right, 40 to 50 hours a week. 60. And Allie, you can attest to this. I studied that. And I picked up a son along the way, his name's Henry. And he was down at my house pretty much all the time. I mean, he ate with us, and we gave him jelly, and he loved our beans, Allie's canned beans. And I picked up a bunch of little daughters, and a sister and a brother, and 2 great friends. And we studied, and Chris and Vanessa said at the beginning, you can't be a silo and pass this class. And what that means is, I don't know if I have to, you can't do this by yourself. Okay, PTA class is not a class you can pass by yourself, because you have your tests that you have to do and go in there and pass your practicals. And to pass your practicals, you got practice. So we had Mondays, Wednesdays, and Friday classes, and Tuesdays and Thursdays off, I believe, at the beginning. I was in there Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Henry and I were. And I believe that Henry and I were the only ones in there at the beginning at first. That's what you've got to do to pass. Okay, same thing in my karate classes. Some of the students come Monday, and that's it. And I tell them, if you want to succeed in martial arts, you've got to practice at home. I know if they practice or they don't practice. Because when they come Monday night, I have them show me, and if they can't do it, or if it's, halfway, or it's choppy, I know they did practice. If they come in there and they knock it out like that, I know they practiced. Okay? Nobody's going to do it for you. You got to do it yourself. You've got to be motivated. Okay? Partying can come later. Hanging out with boys can come later, or girls can come later, whatever. All this stuff that you want to do that you think is fun right now, your career is more important. Way, way more important. Trust me. I know this. I did it. I partied hard when I was in high school. And it really hindered my ability to do my education now. If I'd have paid attention in high school, this would have been so much easier. But I didn't. And don't let anybody tell you you can't do it. Don't let your friends tell you or try to dissuade you to do anything. Okay? If they're your true friends, they'll support you in it, no matter what you choose. Okay? I mean, all I can tell you is if you want it, work hard and take it. There's nothing you can't, there's pretty much nothing out there you can't do if you want it. But if it's worth it, it's not usually easy. Okay? It's going to be hard. It's going to be real hard. And I mean, one of the biggest things I can be proud of is I've always kept my integrity. And there's only one person that can take that from you, and that's you. So, and if you cheat, you're cheating yourself. Okay, because you got this one big thing at the end that you got to pass. It's called the boards. If you cheat in class, that doesn't help you in boards. Okay, and boards are tough. I'm not going to lie to you. Boards are tough. And it's just, they're stressful. And I was a bear. I was a bear throughout this whole thing. I'm not going to lie to you. I was pretty much a grown. And Allie was like, I took the test. I went down there, and I went to, I can't remember what it was, a class down there to teach you how to study and all that stuff. And I'm like, I went to the first day, and I'm like, you people just confused the heck out of me. I'm done. And I got a book and all that stuff and all that. But anyway, I went down and I took the test. I'm back. I had TS clearance in the military, one of probably the highest you can get. It was tough to get. Getting in to take that test was near impossible. I think I could get into the White House easier. I was like, it was awful. I almost had to like sign over my kids, which I probably would have done. But I told the lady, I said, is the president in there or something? I was like, holy lightning, and she didn't think that was funny, but whatever, lady. So I didn't even dare go to the bathroom. So anyway, I took the test, I come out, and I was like, hey, it's all done. I was like, I failed the test. I was miserable for like, and then of course I gotta wait, and I don't wait good. I'm the most horrible waiter ever. I don't like waiting. I want the results like that. I don't wait, do I? I hate it. Like, I want results. Like, if I get in trouble, I want to know what the punishment is. I don't like waiting. So I was a bear. I feel bad. So anyway, my biggest supporters. Yeah, where did she let Anyway, I feel bad kicking here for an hour. So my biggest supporters in this whole thing were my wife, my mom, my sister. I don't know how many papers they corrected. My friends. You know, I don't know how many times I went down to Scott's house and vented, and he talked me off the cliff. I don't know how many times. My kids, Dr. Reed, Jennifer Tweedy, all those people, they all corrected my papers and helped me out. Vanessa, Chris, Aaron Marston, Scott Overton, Anthony Scott, Patrick Brewer, guys that are in it, girls. I'm telling you right now, take advantage of all these wonderful professors and instructors and teachers, because they're there for you. I don't have one bad thing to say about this place. I don't. I mean, I've heard some people complain, and I'm just like, oh, you guys are crazy. You know, and another thing, I've never seen anything the likes that you can take a test again. I was just like, well, you can take a test again? Or revise it? You go ahead and revise it, you can get extra points. I'm like, yeah, give me that test back.
You get a 98 and you would revise.
Yeah, right, you know, that extra point. So, but hey, you know what you get when you revise? You learn what you got wrong. Right? So if I got it wrong and I revised it, it stuck in my head that I got that one wrong. So the next time I saw it, I got it right. Of course, I got the other one wrong. But I got it right. But any questions from especially the PTA folks or anything? I mean, you guys are the ones that are going up. Don't get frustrated. You're going to get frustrated, but try not to get frustrated. There's going to be 2 weeks that are going to be the most horrible weeks of your life, but you're going to get through it. They're frustrating as heck because you're going to have it feels like 50 tests, but it's not bad. It is bad. But you're going to do it. It's rewarding. Don't give up. Don't give in. Don't quit. Don't quit. I'm telling you. I know you. I don't know you, but I know you. And you don't quit. I'm telling you, you're smart. You're wicked. You're way smarter than I am. You can do it. And I'm telling you, you just can't. It's so easy to quit. And it's hard to stay the course. But if you stay the course and you finish, it's so rewarding. Okay? You know, if you pass, there's no feeling like it. I'm telling you. And I'm there if you need anything. Those guys are there if you need anything.
Like your textbooks?
Yeah, absolutely. 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 But and use your support group. Use your support group. In anything, not just school. I mean, all you out there. I mean, I'm older than a lot of you out there. Not some though. It feels good in here. A lot of you are older than me. A lot of you aren't still. But anyway. But you're going to hit things in life that are tough. You know, and I'll tell you this, the thing that frustrates me some is some of the people that when I had to make that big decision to get out of law enforcement or stay in, a lot of people say, I wish you would have stuck it out. I'm like, you're forgetting I got a college degree now. I'm like, stuck what up. I mean, I was miserable. I was not happy. You would want me to be miserable for 3 more years or however long it would have been. I mean, can't predict what it would have been, you know? So that everything happens for a reason thing, this is why it happened. I'm standing here now in front of you guys, I got a college degree, I get to work with awesome people. I mean, I got Matt Pastor in the back was my CI on my last clinical. I mean, he was a great instructor, and he's the reason why I got hired at Carey. Because he helped me and he instructed me and he taught me the way to do it. So, I mean, and he's like, hey, you really probably should put a resume or a application in. And now I work with a great bunch of people who like me. So, they say they do. No, they really do around, but they get to boss me around. So anyway, I mean, and that's why I say don't let people get you down or tell you what to do or anything like that. Your true support group, your true friends will be there no matter what. And I have that. And I'm so incredibly thankful that I have my friends that I have and my family that I have. And I couldn't ask for any better. I'm a really rich man when it comes to that. So that's that, folks. I bored you to death, so. Thank you, folks.